Sheesh. Sheesh. We got WNBA legend Angel Mccoughtry exposing the fact that Nneka Ogwumike, president of the WNBPA, doing the WNBA players dirty. She calls this out conflict of interest. She said it by accident. She didn't even mean to say this stuff, y'all. She didn't even mean to go there. Everybody knows what Nneka Ogwumike did was dirty. You're in the middle of negotiations with the WNBA for a new CBA, and in the midst of that, you're signing with Project B. It's disrespectful. It's out of pocket. It's crazy. It's a conflict of interest, like we've been saying, and it is leaving a bunch of players out to dry who are.
The WNBA has been rocked by some wild scandals this season, but nothing compares to what just exploded today, because out of nowhere, WNBA legend Angel Mccoughtry has stepped forward and exposed a secret that nobody was supposed to hear. A slip-up that instantly sent shockwaves across the entire league. According to Angel Nneka Ogwumike, the president of the WNBA, the woman trusted to protect every player from rookies to superstars has been making moves behind the scenes that could change the entire future of women's basketball. And for the first time, a veteran finally said it out loud. This is a conflict of interest that could leave dozens of players, including Caitlin Clark, completely vulnerable. Angel tried to stay professional. She tried to answer the question safely, but the truth broke through anyway. And once the words came out, there was no turning back. She exposed deals, decisions, and power plays that nobody else had the courage to speak on. Now players are furious. Executives are scrambling. Fans are calling this the end of trust between players and leadership. And tonight, everything Nneka has built is under fire. The WNBA is officially on edge, and this is only the beginning. To understand why, Angel Mccoughtry's comments hit the league like a nuclear bomb. You have to go back to the tension that's been brewing for months behind closed doors. The WNBA has been locked in a heated, messy, unpredictable negotiation for a brand new CBA, a deal that determines salary, rights, rules, contracts, off-season freedom, endorsements, and control of the player's future. And leading that fight was Nneka Ogwumike, long considered the face of the WNBPA, and one of the most respected voices in the league. But everything changed the moment. Rumors began circulating that Nneka was preparing to join Project B, a brand new competitor league offering massive money, overseas-level checks, and full equity for the stars. Suddenly, the woman negotiating for WNBA players was allegedly getting paid by a rival league. It didn't look right, it didn't feel right, and nobody wanted to be the first to say it until Angel Mccoughtry slipped, and that's the moment this entire scandal took on a life of its own. Before the interview even dropped, players were already whispering about deal-making, favoritism, and the growing divide between the league's superstars and the rest of the roster. Because while Caitlin Clark, Breanna Stewart, Alyssa Thomas, and Nneka could jump to new leagues and cash in instantly, the middle-tier players, the backbone of the WNBA, were being left out of every major opportunity. Project B wasn't offering them deals. Unrivaled wasn't calling them either. The money was flowing, but it was flowing upward. The stars ate. Everyone else waited, and waited, and waited. Behind the scenes, frustration was boiling over. Some WNBA players were angry that the union wasn't fighting harder for them, especially with the new prioritization rules threatening to shut down off-season incomes for anyone who wasn't a superstar. Others believed leadership was more worried about building their own brands, equity deals, and future business plays than supporting the entire league. That's why Angel's words hit so hard. She didn't accuse. She didn't point fingers. She didn't rant. She simply asked the question every player has been too scared to say out loud. How does this work? How can the president of the union negotiate the future of the WNBA while being financially tied to a business competitor? How can any player trust that their best interests are being protected? How can a rookie like Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest draw, or veterans in contract years feel safe when the main negotiator might be sitting on both sides of the table? That one slip shattered the silence. Suddenly, the WNBA wasn't just dealing with a CBA negotiation. They were dealing with a crisis of trust, a leadership scandal, an internal war about power, loyalty, and the future of women's basketball. And for the first time in years, the league felt unstable. Very unstable. Because if Angel Mccoughtry, one of the most respected voices in the sport, is raising questions this serious, then something much darker is happening behind the scenes. The moment Angel Mccoughtry's words slipped out, everything changed. The interview was supposed to be simple, a light conversation, a casual breakdown, a friendly sit-down, but the instant Angel paused, raised her eyebrows, and questioned how Nneka Ogwumike could possibly negotiate a CBA while signing with a rival league, the entire WNBA froze. Because that wasn't a small accusation, that wasn't a casual observation, that was a direct shot at the core of league leadership. And everyone felt the impact instantly. It didn't help that the tension had already been building for months. Players were whispering that something felt off. Deals were being made behind closed doors. Certain stars were getting access to meetings, opportunities, and equity packages that the rest of the league didn't even know existed. Middle-tier veterans were angry. Rookies were confused. International players felt blindsided. And role players, the 70% of the league nobody talks about, felt completely abandoned. But once Angel spoke, the quiet frustration turned into a full-blown internal crisis. Because here's the truth, Nneka wasn't just any player, she was the president of the WNBPA, the woman responsible for fighting for everyone. From Caitlin Clark to the last player on the bench, her job was to protect WNBA players from being exploited. Instead, Angel's question hinted at something players feared. What if the person negotiating for them was actually negotiating for herself? What if the CBA was being shaped to benefit a handful of stars, while the rest of the league was being told to be patient and trust the process? Players started talking privately. Screenshots were exchanged. Group chats lit up. A few veterans even reached out to Angel directly to thank her for saying what they couldn't. The league was already dealing with a fight over prioritization rules, a policy demanding players stop playing overseas if they wanted WNBA contracts. The WNBA was saying, "We'll pay you more, but we want exclusivity." But that exclusivity only applied to the WNBA stars. They didn't follow those rules. They were signing with Project B. They were getting equity deals. They were building their OWN leagues. They were being offered million-dollar contracts outside the WNBA ecosystem. Meanwhile, mid-tier players, the glue, the grinders, the role players, were stuck with nothing. They couldn't join Unrivaled. They weren't invited to Project B. They weren't getting looks overseas because the new rules scared teams away. They weren't getting extensions because the CBA was frozen. They were trapped. This is why the Caitlin Clark angle blew up even louder. Because Caitlin, the biggest star in the entire sport, was caught in the middle of a political war she didn't create. If the CBA failed, she'd be forced to choose: stick with the WNBA or join a rival league that was paying way more and offering total freedom. The stakes were suddenly astronomical. Angel's slip wasn't just a comment, it was a detonation. It opened the door to a truth the WNBA didn't want out. The people negotiating the future of the league might be the same ones sabotaging it from the inside. And from this moment forward, the league was at war with itself. To understand why Mccoughtry's explosive comments about Nneka Ogwumike just shook the entire league, you have to go way back into the quiet, unspoken power structure that has controlled the WNBA for years. What most fans see on the surface is a sisterhood, veterans mentoring rookies, superstars promoting unity, and players standing together for the growth of the game. But behind the scenes, there has always been a hierarchy, an invisible ladder that determines who gets promoted, who gets silenced, and who gets protected. For more than a decade, Nneka Ogwumike wasn't just a respected star, she was the gatekeeper. As the longtime face of the WNBPA, her voice carried the kind of weight players whispered about, but never questioned publicly. If she signed off on a campaign, it happened. If she didn't, it died before it started. And for years, no one dared challenge her authority. Not veterans, not rookies, not even rising icons. Until Caitlin Clark arrived. Caitlin didn't just enter the league, she detonated inside it. Overnight, she became the most marketable player in WNBA history. Television deals shifted, ticket sales exploded, sponsorships redirected. For the first time ever, the WNBA's power balance tilted toward a rookie on bat. Fracture began exposing every old tension that players had quietly kept buried. Sources inside multiple teams claim Nneka did not appreciate how fast the spotlight moved. She believed the league was abandoning the vets who built the foundation, and when Caitlin stepped into the league, already being paid like the future of the sport, that tension reached a level nobody expected. That's when, according to insiders, subtle barriers began popping up. Publicly, everything looked fine. Privately, players whispered about favoritism, double standards, and a quiet resentment building in the upper ranks. Enter Mccoughtry. Angel has never been afraid to speak truth, even when it costs her. She saw what was happening behind closed doors meetings where decisions didn't match the public statements, internal conflicts disguised as leadership discussions, and a growing divide between the veterans trying to preserve the old guard and the league's new stars manding a different kind of future. New stars manding a different kind of future. Angel says Nneka wasn't just blocking opportunities, she was influencing narratives, guiding messaging, controlling who got uplifted and who got ignored. And when Caitlin Clark became the center of every marketing plan, Angel claims Nneka started pushing back in ways the public never saw. According to Angel, it wasn't about protecting the league, it was about protecting power. Players like Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Camila Cardoso, Kelsey Mitchell, and many others felt the weight of decisions being made without them, around them, and in some cases, against them. Angel Mccoughtry says she watched it happen, and she's done staying silent, because this isn't just a story about tension, it's a story about a longtime leader, a rising superstar, and a league being pulled apart from the inside, before the world's eyes. Everything finally snapped the moment Angel Mccoughtry decided to go public, because according to several players close to the situation, the tension between Angel and Nneka had been slowly boiling for months. What Angel exposed wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a system, a pattern, a deliberate gatekeeping cycle that she says has been holding certain players back for years while quietly elevating others. And the flashpoint the moment this whole thing went nuclear was a closed-door WNBPA leadership call that multiple insiders now describe as the most hostile meeting of the season. According to sources who were present, the conversation turned heated when the subject of protecting the league's image came up. Nneka allegedly argued that the sudden wave of attention around Caitlin Clark was becoming disruptive and unsustainable. She insisted the league needed to pull back on pushing one player too hard. That's when Angel allegedly stepped in. She didn't just disagree, she confronted Nneka head. Angel said keeping Caitlin Clark's impact contained wasn't leadership, it was sabotage. She accused Nneka of trying to control who becomes the face of the league, instead of letting the fans decide for themselves. One insider claims Angel said, "You don't get to choose who shines, the game chooses." The entire room went silent. From that point on, the meeting spiraled. Players started speaking up about other issues, endorsement opportunities that mysteriously disappeared, media pushes that got redirected, public statements that seemed to contradict private conversations. It wasn't just about Caitlin anymore, it was about a deeper frustration players had been carrying for years. But what made the conflict explode was the allegation that Nneka had been influencing decisions that affected players like Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Plum, and even Aja Wilson without fully representing their best interests. Several players felt the league was evolving faster than the leadership representing them and that the old guard was starting to panic. Behind the scenes, it became vets versus rising stars, traditional marketing versus viral momentum, old hierarchy versus new fan-driven power. Angel Mccoughtry saw it clearly, and she wasn't afraid to say it out loud. Reports say Nneka pushed back hard, telling Angel she didn't understand the responsibility that comes with being the face of the union. She allegedly accused Angel of feeding into social media narratives instead of protecting the league's unity. But Angel wasn't having it, not anymore. She fired back, saying unity isn't real when only a select few get protected, elevated, and positioned as the moral compass of the league. Meanwhile, younger players, especially rookies making the league money, were left to fend off backlash on their own with no leadership support. What was supposed to be a routine leadership call turned into a full-on divide. By the time the meeting ended, players left in separate factions, some siding with Nneka, some with Angel, and many privately admitting this was the moment they realized the WNBA wasn't just fractured, it was breaking. And the worst part, this conflict didn't stay inside the room, it spilled into practice courts, locker rooms, group chats, and even sponsorship negotiations. Because when Angel exposed the truth, every hidden tension finally surfaced, and the league hasn't been the same since. The fallout from Angel Mccoughtry's revelation was immediate and explosive. Once the news hit social media, it didn't just stir conversations. It ignited a wildfire of speculation, outrage, and conspiracy theories across the WNBA community. Fans, journalists, and players alike began dissecting every detail, questioning the integrity of union leadership, and scrutinizing Nneka Ogwumike's every move. What was once a behind-the-scenes power struggle was now a full-blown public spectacle. Sources inside the league revealed that Angel's statements triggered private panic among senior WNBA executives. Emails were flying back and forth, internal calls were being held, and lawyers were suddenly involved as the union scrambled to contain the damage. According to multiple insiders, players who had previously stayed neutral began choosing sides, either aligning with Angel's outspoken advocacy or defending Nneka's leadership. The locker room dynamics, already tense, grew even more volatile. Meanwhile, sponsorship deals started to feel the ripple effects. Brands that previously worked with top-tier players began reassessing their contracts, fearful that any association with union conflict could backfire publicly. The tension wasn't limited to business on the court. Insiders reported that practices became more heated than ever. Veteran stars argued with younger players about loyalty and accountability, while coaches struggled to maintain focus amid growing media attention. The most shocking revelation came when an anonymous WNBA source confirmed that Nneka had, in fact, signed a secret agreement with Project B, a rival league, while still serving as union president. Angel's accidental disclosure had unveiled a conflict of interest that could have legal implications. Suddenly, every negotiation, every policy decision, and every public statement made by the union came under scrutiny. Questions were being raised about whether Nneka was putting personal gain ahead of player interests. The controversy exploded on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, with hashtags like #WNBA-UnionChaos, #AngelExposesTruth, and #ConflictOfInterest trending within hours. Even players outside the WNBA weighed in. Some international stars, observing from afar, openly questioned how a league could operate effectively if leadership was compromised. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, the rising star central to much of this tension, remained silent publicly, fueling speculation that the next few weeks could see even more dramatic shifts. Insiders warn that this is just the beginning. The revelation didn't merely expose past conflicts, it set the stage for a power struggle that could reshape the league's future. Internal divisions, already simmering, now have momentum, and the WNBA is facing unprecedented scrutiny from fans, players, and sponsors alike. Angel's candid remarks may have put the union on notice. The era of silent compromises is over. By the end of the week, whispers of potential resignations, lawsuits, and even player walkouts began circulating, marking what could be the most turbulent chapter in the history of women's professional basketball. Mccoughtry had ignited a storm, and the league was bracing for the full impact. The moment Mccoughtry's comments went viral, the reaction across the WNBA and sports media was nothing short of seismic. Fans flooded social media with a mix of shock, outrage, and support. Hashtags like #AngelExposesTruth, #WNBAUnionDrama, and #ConflictOfInterest exploded across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, trending worldwide within hours. Thousands of posts analyzed every word, clip, and nuance of her statements, dissecting the alleged betrayal by Nneka Ogwumike and questioning the integrity of union leadership. Journalists from The Athletic and Bleacher Report jumped on the story, publishing articles speculating about the implications of a union president signing with a competing league while negotiating a new CBA. Headlines like WNBA Union in Crisis and Mccoughtry calls out conflict of interest dominated feeds. Pundits debated the legality, ethics, and fairness of Nneka's actions, with many agreeing that if true, it could be one of the most shocking controversies in women's sports history. WNBA players themselves didn't hold back. Anonymous sources revealed that locker room conversations became intense, with some veterans expressing frustration over perceived favoritism and conflicts of interest, while younger players publicly sided with Angel, praising her courage to speak out. The conversation quickly expanded to larger issues in the league, including transparency, player rights, and equity, as the public realized that the conflict could affect contract negotiations, sponsorships, and career trajectories for middle-tier players, not just stars like Caitlin Clark. Even beyond the league, the story drew attention from mainstream media and celebrities. Sports analysts on national TV dissected every clip, highlighting how Angel's accidental revelation exposed deep-rooted structural issues. Talk shows and podcasts began dedicating segments to WNBA governance, calling for accountability and demanding answers from the union and its leaders. Sponsors also took notice, quietly reviewing contracts and assessing the reputational risk of partnering with certain players or teams amidst the ongoing drama. The fans' reactions were perhaps the most intense, across Reddit threads, YouTube comment sections, and Twitter polls. Passionate debates erupted over who was right, who was wrong, and how the league should respond. Some accused Nneka of betrayal and prioritizing personal gain over player welfare, while others cautioned that the allegations needed verification. Nevertheless, Angel's reputation skyrocketed, with supporters praising her boldness and willingness to confront a powerful figure in the league. Even Caitlin Clark, though silent publicly, became a focal point of discussion. Fans speculated whether she would leverage the turmoil to her advantage or remain neutral. Analysts suggested that the league's next moves, whether in negotiations, disciplinary action, or structural reform, would define the WNBA's public image for years to come. By the end of the week, it was clear that Angel Mccoughtry had not just exposed a conflict of interest, she had sparked a league-wide conversation, drawing global attention to the inner workings of professional women's basketball. The WNBA was officially under a microscope, with fans, media, and players waiting to see if accountability, reform, or further chaos would follow. The controversy was far from over, and every move made in the coming weeks would be scrutinized with unprecedented intensity. Just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any more explosive, insiders revealed an even deeper layer to the WNBA drama. Sources close to the union confirmed that Nneka Ogwumike's involvement with Project B was not just a side venture. It allegedly included equity shares and decision-making power that directly conflicted with her role as WNBPA president. This revelation sent shockwaves through the league, leaving players and fans questioning every past negotiation and contract decision she had influenced. If true, this wasn't just a minor oversight, it was a full-blown conflict of interest with major financial and ethical implications. The drama didn't stop there. According to multiple insiders, top WNBA stars, including Caitlin Clark, were reportedly considering boycotting certain league activities until the issue was addressed publicly. Rumors swirled that several players had drafted a confidential letter demanding an independent investigation into union governance. Meanwhile, Angel Mccoughtry's bold statements positioned her as the league's conscience, the one willing to speak truth to power while risking backlash from both the union and league officials. Fans began piecing together old headlines and interviews, connecting dots that suggested Nneka may have influenced key decisions benefiting Project B players while inadvertently sidelining others. The potential ripple effects were staggering. Middle-tier players could lose out on fair compensation, contract opportunities could be renegotiated under questionable terms, and league-wide trust in the WNBPA could plummet. Social media erupted with heated debates, with clips of Angel's comments being replayed thousands of times, fueling speculation and controversy. Even more shocking, a leaked internal memo allegedly revealed that some league executives were aware of the conflict months before it became public but chose to remain silent to avoid scandal. The memo hinted at a possible cover-up, raising questions about accountability at the highest levels. Could this mean that the WNBA's leadership, including owners and union representatives, had been prioritizing their personal or corporate interests over the players they were meant to serve? As the story develops, Angel Mccoughtry continues to stand firm, refusing to back down despite immense pressure. Her transparency has inspired other players to speak out. Though many are cautious, wary of retaliation or career repercussions, the league faces a turning point. Either it enacts meaningful reform, restores trust, and addresses conflicts of interests, or it risks public backlash and internal chaos unlike anything the WNBA has ever seen. One thing is certain. This isn't just a story about Nneka Ogwumike or Angel Mccoughtry. It's about the integrity of women's professional basketball and the power dynamics that shape the careers of every player in the league. Fans, media, and players alike are now watching closely, knowing that the next revelation could rewrite the WNBA's future. The question remains, will justice be served, or will the controversy deepen further? The answer is still out there, and it's only a matter of time before the next bombshell drops. This is a moment every WNBA fan needs to witness closely. Angel Mccoughtry just pulled back the curtain, exposing potential conflicts that could change the way this league operates forever. If you care about fairness, player rights, and the future of women's basketball, now is the time to pay attention. The story isn't over, and your voice matters. Share this video with friends, family, and fellow fans to make sure everyone knows what's really happening behind the scenes. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you think the league will act fast, or is this just the beginning of a deeper scandal? Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Every new leak, Every insider revelation, every twist in this saga will be covered here first. Don't miss a single update on Angel Mccoughtry, Nneka Ogwumike, Caitlin Clark, or any other WNBA star caught in the middle of this controversy. Your engagement helps bring accountability to the forefront and keeps this story alive for everyone who loves the game. Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay ready because in the world of professional women's basketball, things are heating up fast, and you won't want to miss the next shocking chapter.